Now, just when we were beginning to think that the MoonSwatch was dead, that Swatch Group had milked every last penny out of this particular cash cow, and that their design team had well and truly run out of ideas, on the 1st of March, they released this, the MoonSwatch 1965. Now, that launch date and the reference in the name to 1965 are both extremely significant. I'll explain why in a moment, and I'll tell you why I think that this is the best MoonSwatch yet. Love it or hate it, the MoonSwatch has been a phenomenon. Its launch in 2022 was one of the biggest things that's happened in the watch industry in years. And it transcended the watch industry and spilled over into popular culture, with celebrities like Ed Sheeran, Daniel Craig, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic spotted sporting MoonSwatches. And as a result, Swatch Group's sales rocketed. No pun intended. Between then and now, we've seen a plethora of variations on the theme, most of which have been a demonstration of pretty lazy design, the only thing new about them often just being the colours, with the exception perhaps of the Moon Phase and the Earth Phase versions. But just a few weeks ago, on the 1st of March, Swatch Group dropped this new MoonSwatch 1965. The significance of the date? Well, it was exactly 60 years to the day since the Omega Speedmaster had been qualified by NASA for manned spaceflight, following a program of rigorous testing in which it saw off stiff competition from the likes of Longy-Wittnauer and Rolex. The rest, as they say, is history. But I was truly amazed that in the run-up to the launch of this, Swatch Group decided to illustrate these events by making bioceramic versions of both the Longy-Wittnauer and the Rolex for display in the windows of its Swatch boutiques. Just think about that for a moment. Swatch Group, who owns Omega, made a bioceramic Rolex. While in many ways this 1965 edition follows the same tried and tested MoonSwatch formula, with its bioceramic or plastic case, plastic crystal and Velcro strap, there are a few subtle but I think important differences that for me make this the best MoonSwatch yet, all of which centre around the dial. Guys, I'm sorry to interrupt this video, but I have some big news. First of all, the channel is about to pass 10,000 subscribers, something that I'm hugely grateful for. But of course, that means that the next target is 15,000, and I'd like your help in getting there, so if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please pause this video and take a moment to hit that subscribe button now. Secondly, in the coming weeks, I'm going to be announcing something that I've been working on for about 18 months. It's by far the biggest thing that I've ever done. It's another reason to subscribe to the channel, but also hit that bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss when that video drops. Anyway, back to the MoonSwatch. For the first time on a MoonSwatch, we have an applied Omega logo. Along with the black handset and the contrasting white dial, the look is undoubtedly a nod to the white dial Speedy released last year. For me, that was one of the best releases of 2024, and it's definitely my favourite Speedy. I did a video with a hands-on review of it, which I'll leave a card for at the end, if you want to go back and check it out. That applied Omega logo on the dial replicates the design that Omega was using in the 1960s, with the same shape to the icon and the same font style. The other big difference with this 1965 comes in the form of an Easter egg hidden in the chronograph's subdials. Look closely and you'll see that the numbers on the top of the subdials that display the elapsed hours and minutes read 19 and 65. And along with the 60 marker in the sub-seconds display, they're coated in a generous amount of lume. So when the lights go down, you're reminded of the year 1965 and the fact that this watch commemorates a 60th anniversary. The chronograph also has a party trick. It's calibrated so that each time the chronograph reaches 1 hour and 5 minutes, these two subdials kind of spin around in celebration. Why 1 hour and 5 minutes, you might wonder? Well, of course, that translates to 65 minutes. Flip the watch over and the caseback is familiar with a depiction of the moon on the battery cover. But there's one big difference between the image of the moon here and the one on the original Mission to the Moon version released in 2022. You see, that one included the image on the moon of Neil Armstrong's famous footprint. But in 1965, it would still be 4 years before man would set foot on the surface of the moon. So, in a frankly remarkable display of attention to detail, that footprint doesn't appear on this one. This MoonSwatch 1965 is available from selected swatch boutiques, and here in the UK it's priced at £240. Now, as a sign that MoonSwatch mania has finally subsided, I was able to walk into one of the biggest swatch boutiques in the UK, the one in Oxford Street in London, just a week after this was launched, and pick one up straight away. Is it worth it? Well, that depends on your perception of value, I guess. £240 isn't exactly inexpensive, and it's been widely reported that Swatch Group makes 90% profit on every MoonSwatch. Now, that's not so unusual in the watch industry. I mean, anyone who thinks that a $10,000 luxury watch costs any more than $1,000 to $1,500 to make is frankly kidding themselves. We can go into that now, but I think that's probably best saved for another video. Are you getting a Speedmaster for £240? Definitely not. Is it a toy? Well, some people say it is, but I wouldn't exactly call it that. And the only reason I could really see for saying that would be because it has a plastic case. But let's face it, it is a mass-produced novelty watch. And while Swatch Group has addressed the quality issues of some of the originals, for example by putting an anti-scratch coating on this plastic crystal, I still wouldn't count on it lasting a lifetime. But I do think there's something pretty cool about this MoonSwatch 1965, and that's a feeling I just don't get from many of the other versions. For me, this 1965 strikes the perfect balance between being super fun, but also paying homage to one of my favourite speedies. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments.